you, buddy. All right, procedure, routine. You got pretty long arms. The shaft of the club, the golf club has to sit flat on the ground. It cannot sit with the toe in the air. This is the toe. Sit flat on the ground. When the club sits flat on the ground, the end of the club should point right at your belt. Right at your belt. Now look, if I draw a line across the shaft, this is not pointing at your belt. It's close, but I would rather be a little higher, right at your belly button. But your knees are not over your toes. The top of your knees should be over the middle of your shoelaces. That's a little too much knee flex. You've got too much weight back in your heels. When you bend your knees too much, it pushes weight back to your heels. Unlock your knees. This is unlocking. This is bending. We don't bend. We unlock. All right, now, we want to keep the club on that yellow line going back and through, which I think you did.
Wow.
Look at that, buddy.
Holy. Can you remember that swing? Look at how steep it is.
He's got the one plane motion. You go up and down the plane. This is good. Look at that. That's awesome. Right? You know, that looks like a pro. Now, it's okay to have a low swing. Your hands are pretty low. It's okay to be there. Yeah, my preference is if your hands were just a little bit higher, about the top of your head. But there are guys that play golf with a low swing. Some have a low swing. Some have a high swing. Yeah, you got to get that club to swing down the line like this. That's a good swing. That's really good. All right, now, this guy is a tall guy, and he's got a low swing like you do. Watch. So, are your hands a little too low? Yes. I would like your left arm to be right across your right shoulder. So I'd like you to get your left arm across your shoulder line. So it's just a little bit too low. You're about this much too low. So how are you going to fix it? Stand with your rear end against the wall. Take a backswing. Don't do it with the club in your hand. Now if you go around, you'll hit the wall. You're going to go up. You're going to go up the wall. You got that? Alright. Everything else is good. Watch this swing. Look at that takeaway. It's right on plane. It's right on the yellow line. Watch this guy. He's doing the same thing you are. Look, he learned from you. Look at that. You taught him everything you know. That's good. Alright. Grip. What's a good grip? Right. You got to see which part of your hand. This part, right? What? See? Can you see her? See the emblem on her glove there? You can see it, right? Now he's got a 3-wood in his hand. So his stance is a little bit wider with a 3-wood. You want your heels to be about as wide as your shoulders with a 3-wood. See how the insides of his heels are about the width of his shoulders? That's about the right width for a 3-wood or a driver. Yeah, he's got it. You got that. All right. Now, she's hitting an iron. Ball's a little bit closer to her front heel. See where's the 3-wood supposed to be, Jack? Yeah, just inside the left heel, right? So that's a 3-wood. Okay, watch his hips. It's going to be a railroad post stuck right into his hip there. It's not going to move. See how his hip stays still? We don't want to do that sway thing. Weight shift. There's the weight shift. Now this is some serious flexibility. You can even see the shaft bend right here. That shaft is starting to bend this way. See how it's bending that way? And then see that full extension. Alright, you're getting it, Jack. So Jack, remember, who's this guy? Where'd your head go and your hip go? Do we want to keep our head still? Relatively in the same place, relatively speaking. So that's something to work on. How are you going to work on that? See how much your head's moving, Jack? So if you just stood there and have your dad put his finger right here and say, okay, turn back. If his finger's here and you're moving, you're going to know it. So you got to learn what I'm doing. Can you do what I'm doing? Do what I'm doing. Cross your arms, get a wider base. Now turn your shoulders, go. Right. That's it, buddy. Look at that. That's what you work on. See how you're keeping your head still? What do you think I got that noodle for? Because you're not the first person that's got that problem. So that's where your inconsistencies come is, see all that shifting that's going on, Jack? Alright. I think I've killed you with enough information for one day. Probably not. You should. Alright.